before we move into the meeting agenda, I'd like to just ask everyone to join us in a short moment of silence just to remember two people that have passed away. First is Emily Dennison, maiden name was Coffin, who was a clerical employee some years ago in our district, passed away recently. And also Carol Fassel, also known at the time as Carol Moore, who was an English teacher in Central Square. Both of these former employees passed away, so we'll just join in a moment of silence. Thank you. With that, can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda with one change, which would be our executive session will include two topics this evening, and I'll fill the board in when we get in there, but it will not be lengthy, and there will be no action to follow after the executive session. So for the audience members, you don't need to stick around. There will be no vote or action. So with that change, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. McCarthy,
I'll
second by
second.
Ms. Woods. Sorry, should we do it? Any discussion? All those in favor? And it is unanimous. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Colabufo for presentations to the board. Tonight we have two. It's going to be some projections based on the governor's initial budget run and also a presentation on revenues. So.
He gets this plus the report?
What a total of 12 minutes.
No, I got less than that. Dean, I'm using this one or this one. Either one. Okay. So bear with me. I have a very sore throat, but I battle on. So 3-year projections. We do the very similar thing as we did last year. About a week ago, the governor had put out his executive budget, and this is what we originally based it off. The big theme here is that we are very, very, very dependent on state aid, as all the school districts are, but it's really, really important, and you're going to see that throughout this first presentation. So my objective for this is to really show you, again, just how dependent we are on state aid in this planning, especially for 3-year projections. We do 3 years because that's what was suggested to us, because it's so very difficult to go beyond 3 years, so we go with 3. As you can see right here, and that's not a misprint, we're very, very happy that the revenues were greater than the expenditures. So as you can see, the $4,280,275, we had a good year. Again, a big, big part of that was our move from, people look at that and go, oh, that's because you went into the consortium. We have not gone into the consortium. All units have to go into the consortium together. We are still in the final, what we believe is the final stages of negotiating the remaining 7 units, and then the addition, there's one more unit after that, and we feel that we are very close to being able to do that. This is not consortium money savings. This is the savings because we went from the retrospective health plan to the minimum premium. And a lot of you know this because that's when we had come to you prior to this meeting and we said we wanted to put money in reserves. That's how we were able to do that. So again, looking at this, as I said, it was our expenditures came in lower than what we had budgeted for, mainly due to, as I said, the switch in our health plans. So as you can see, the two sources of revenue, state aid and tax levy. Given the fact that the tax levy is under the new tax cap regulations, our district, again, goes back to the theme, is very dependent on state aid. So state aid is very crucial to this district and to the majority of, not all districts, but the majority of districts that are reliant on state aid. Next, we see expenditures. And as you see here, again, the bulk of our expenditures are with personnel, it's people. So you see 48% are in salaries and another 25% in fringe benefits, which comes to 73%. Okay, so as you can see here, we are receiving about $1 million less in state aid. I will put this to the board. Why do you think we're receiving $1 million less in state aid. Question and answered? Anybody? Bueller? Yes, Mr. Martin.
Debt service.
Debt service. That is correct. We did a great job getting in that capital project last year when we did, and that because we got that in, it still remained pretty balanced, and that's why it was $4,600,000. Had we not have gotten that in, we would have seen a dramatic difference. But it was the debt service, absolutely. State aid and debt service are connected. If you have less debt service, then obviously you're going to be getting less in state aid. So that's a really key point right there. So some people look at this and go, wow, why are we, what's the change? That is why. The two sources of revenue, state aid and tax levy, again, taking a look at this, 90%, 97% of our income. It's right there. State aid and tax levy. Expenditures, 75% of our entire budget is spent on personnel. Very, very similar in the majority of districts out there. And again, this will also be on our website. This slide is a summary of what I just briefly discussed, and we will use this data for our projections for the next 3 years. As you can see on here, and if you can't see it, I'll just explain. The very bottom there in the teal blue is shows that it is a minus 2.9% less than what last year's budget was. So really, it's almost exactly the same as last year's budget. No surprises. The next 3 slides are general pieces of information that we currently know that will help us make projections. And just so people know, everybody that works for the district either falls under TRS or ERS. So taking a look right here, the biggest thing that you just need to see is that it's projected to go up $300,000 due to rate increases. That's TRS. Teachers fall under that, principals fall under that. ERS, and those are for all employees that do not fall under the TRS, and even though it is projected to go down 0.4%, we will not realize a decrease because of our wages continue to increase. Obviously, as you know, we are in the midst of negotiating 8 more contracts, even though their contracts were up for next year, because we needed to go into the consortium and they wanted to negotiate before we went into the consortium. That's why we know that it's not going to go down to 0.4. On a positive note, our health insurance decreased 10%. That right there is the illustration you want to think of in your head when you think about going from the retrospective down to the minimum premium. That is not has anything to do with consortium, but that's the health insurance. That decrease in 10% really helped us out. For long-range planning purposes, these are the estimates we will be using. So if you take a look at this, the key there is something that I like to just point out is that if you take a look under the expenditures, under the total payroll, in the second year it shows 4%, and then in the third year it shows 4%. That is, because of the longevities of the 3.6 that we had put in, and that is like grad hours and things like that, and that all gets added on there. It's getting a little bit in the weeds. The next slide, this slide illustrates what it looks like when you forecast the factors forward 3 years. So what you see right here are different scenarios. We have, if the state aid is 2%, this is what we see. And in looking at that, it's not good in 2019 and 20, where it shows the $1,649,000, a deficit of $1,649,156. So you really start to see that out as it gets projected to the 2019-20. So that's why we are clearly hoping that it is not a 2% when it all shakes out. This is what it looks like state aid at 3%. Gives us an additional year, but at 2020, 2021, the deficit then jumps to 2,386,769. So we're not hoping it's 3%. State aid projected, 3-year projection for 4%. Then you see it at much more manageable, where the deficit is $930, $1,618, and by 2020, 2021, which we can maintain our programming. So that's essential when we talk about long-term planning, and people say it all the time. I look at many factors. The cabinet looks at many factors, and the board looks at many factors. And first and foremost, we're always looking to be efficient and improve our program. We added workers' compensation reserve. You see that. It's a very good thing that we did that. The auditors, that was one of their strong recommendations, and we did. We added that. It was a great recommendation, and it's something that clearly was needed for us to do. A key to this slide is that in our 3-year projection, we will appropriate $1 million, and realistically, we could sustain that with the $1 million. Now, normally we put up $1 million, but we end up just going with $500,000. Because we had the workers' compensation reserve in there, we actually will be able to go with the $1 million. Maureen, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been a couple of years, maybe 3 years, since we had $2 million that we put in. Just the next slide. Yep. So it shows it right there. So it's a really good thing. And again, the fact that we were able to have that $4 million, that's a real bonus. It was great that we were able to save that money with the health care change from the retrospective plan to the minimum premium, which allowed us to do things like this. So we're starting to get back to where the district and other districts were several years ago. And I had said, notice the 11,181,289 in the bottom right corner for 2017. It's up. It went all the way up. So if you take a look at that total fund balance, it was decreasing all the way down until 2016. It made about close to $500,000 jump, but then it was pretty substantial. And the reason why it was able to go be a substantial jump from 2016 to 17 was because that is because of the $4 million we were just talking about. It brings it right back to one of the very first slide. So that's where that money is, which is a good thing. So we see the true value tax rates. So the governor will tout this as a really good thing, because as you see here, that's the cap that people look at. So as you see, Central Square, it has been a steady decrease in the true value tax rates. It's a double-edged sword, though, because again, between state aid and tax levy are the only ways to be able to generate that type of money that we need to improve program. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Total state aid, if you take a look at this and you go back to 2009-10, so from 2009-10 it's roughly $42.5 million and change, and then you go over to 2014-15, it's the first time that it started to make its way back up to where it was in 2009-10, and if you look at it, it's roughly $3 million more than what it was then. But the problem there is that has been on all of the districts to then be able to still run your program, do all the things that you have to do, knowing the fact that wages keep getting increased and year after year, and people move up different steps and whatnot, and yet we're finally back to really where we were before. So we had to make a lot of changes, as many other districts did, and to be able to stay whole and solvent during that process. And that's another issue that, you know, we continue to look at, the declining enrollment. Go back to 2009-10, 4,532. And then on Beds Day, that's I believe October 10th every year, and it was just recently 3,763. So that's the Seversky study that's still on our website. If anybody wants to take a look at it, the numbers of roughly 3,763, that was what he had predicted out to be around 2021-22. So we're still rapidly ahead of that, quicker at a quicker pace. But Seversky's study did say that it's going to level out. So the simple fact that you see it drop down from 3,791, 3,000, it's starting to slow down, which is a very good sign. And if Seversky's right, it will start to level out, which is a really good sign for the district. That's my first presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, Tom, on the health insurance over Maureen, I'm not sure who's going to answer, but on the health insurance slide, 10% decrease from the 15.3 to the 13.8, and I get it, that's the retrospective to the minimum premium. The 15.3, what is that, 16, 17 years? Okay, so
was this the slide you were referring to, Andy?
Yeah. Yeah, so the 13.8, that's the minimum premium. How does that compare to what we estimate should we move to the consortium? My question is, why would we move to the consortium and still expect our health insurance to jump 6%? Okay.
And to answer your question, so that's the thing. So there was a neighboring district, a district in Oswego County, that went into the consortium because theirs spiked to 46%. So you can't really plan for something like that to happen. It depends how you're managing it before you go into the consortium, but it also depends if you get a couple of severe cases, it could throw you off. So for long-term planning, that's pretty scary. The consortium safeguards that.
No, I hear you, but so the 6% though that we're building in, that's on top of current rates. That's not even, and I get it, just projections.
Correct.
And
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. And the only other thing I want to point out, just so that everyone understands how it works, the total aid slide, the green bar graph.
After this?
Yeah, go forward probably a good half dozen slides. That's total state aid. It's a green bar graph.
The next to last slide.
Yeah.
Pressing this as quick as I can.
Pay attention.
Almost there.
This is why I would have lost the
Here
Jeopardy.
we go.
All right.
Here we go. So 2009, I'm just painting what a great job our governor has done for us. Just adjusted for inflation. If all we had done was do with inflation, we're still $4 million below where we should be. So don't listen to any sales pitch about he's doing us any favors. We're $4 million less than if we had just stayed with inflation from 2009.
It's a great point.
Crappy setup for
And
us.
I think I have one simple question. On the declining enrollment, Tom, the 3763 I understand is on 10/10 each year, October 10th. What is our enrollment today in Census Square? It's probably a couple hundred, 300 less. Actual
Then
bodies-
October?
That 3763 is October 10th of 17 Beds Day.
Yes.
So what is our current enrollment? It's
So that was back this past October.
Yep. What do we have in the buildings today in Central Square, roughly? Is it 200 less, 300 less?
Oh, I can't imagine it would drop. Yeah, I would say 50 or 60 that it has dropped since October.
Okay.
And
So
it does.
I always look at graduating classes and I multiply them out and I never get to that.
Right.
Right. I understand that. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Do I jump right into my next one, or?
Great. What's the other question?
Really want to. Oh, great. Okay, as we take a look at this, again, as I said last Monday, the governor came out with his executive budget, and this is where we currently stand. So the last one that is kind of red circled, it says 769 million in total education funding, which he touts as a 3% increase overall. Unfortunately, when you look up there, really the only one thing that actually benefits us is the foundation aid. None of the other stuff. So as a result of that, when he says 3%, but that doesn't, it's really totally inaccurate when you look at how it actually impacts the majority of school districts. Published, because this is what was put in the paper, this is where it's very interesting. So if you look at the he's claiming it to be a 1.71% increase, but in all actuality, it is a 1.8% decrease. This is what gets a little bit tricky, and every year I kind of have to wrap my mind around it, because it's an arbitrary estimate. Unfortunately, we need to compare, is what I say, apples to apples. So what the governor is doing is he's comparing what his projected numbers are to what he currently has in the system, and that's not really accurate. What he should do is actually base it on the adopted budget from 2017 and 18. And when you do that, it actually comes out to be a minus 1.86%, which would be a deficit of 843,000. It is confusing to wrap your mind around it, because he's comparing what he's proposing to what is currently in that system. Unfortunately, that's not apples to apples. If it was apples, it would actually be to what was actually adopted, the monies that we had available. But that's one of his ways to be able to say that he's giving, when it's not happening, because when we're actually comparing it to the adopted numbers, we're actually in the whole 1.86. So it's a considerable swing in the other direction.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
It's all about how you twist the story, man.
It's true. That's a good point. So as you see there, with the foundation aid of 407,898, well, like we always say, that you need about $2 million in foundation aid. So the 407, it makes it look good if we were getting all those other things, but we're really not. And one thing that's not even on there is community schools. There are districts that qualify in our county for community schools, but we do not.
Tom, not to beat it, but to clarify, so the 2017, 2018 numbers are our illustrious governor's projections from that period of time?
Yeah, so...
And then the projection for 18, 19. Those are both projections.
So when he... Correct. So when
the 17, 18 should be what's in the budget.
Yes, that's exactly right. It should be right there at the 750,986, but he puts it on the 747,087, which makes it look like it's the 1.71. Correct. But really, it's right there.
But if you take, if I'm reading this right, as you've projected out in the last presentation, a 3-4% increase. In all actuality, it's a negative 1.86.
That is correct.
So we could be 5% off of what we think was the actual. Or 3%. So we're actually in the hole.
Yeah, we will be in the hole. And then it's just being how creative and looking at, again, this is just the first run. It was the same thing as it was, last year. But then last year they didn't come back with phenomenal numbers either. So we were very creative last year. Last year we actually, we didn't see the benefit savings, but we had things like the retirement incentive in 26. We were able to eliminate 11 positions without actually eliminating people in the position. And so we were able to, to be creative. The good thing is that we had that $4 million really helped us out. So the governor also, proposed. So just taking a look at some of these, requiring large school districts to submit school-level funding plans. That's one of the things that he's asking for. It doesn't really affect us since we no longer have what is part of the proposal in that definition is 8 buildings or more. Well, a couple of years back and then last year we would have had 8 buildings. We would have been hit hard right there. So it's a good thing that we consolidated the way that we have it. Placing a 2% cap on expense-based aid starting in the 2019-20 school year would be devastating for us, because if you look at all the money that we have through BOCES, we get 76% aid back on that. So the millions of dollars that we're then able to say, okay, if we get 76% back on that, but if they put a cap on that, it would be capped off of what we'd be able to get back from them, which would be devastating for the school districts like us and like many other districts that really rely on that Arwada. That's huge. The enactment of the New York State Taxpayer Protection Act, this will include a shift from a state income tax to a payroll tax, setting up charitable funds that result in a state tax credit and federal deductibility. So these are some of the things that the governor had proposed, and these are things that that we are hearing now. So the state major education organizations predicted school districts would need much more, and an extra $1.5 billion just to maintain programs and services for next year. Cuomo's proposed 2019 state budget proposes a 3% or $769 million hike. So you see some conflicting things. Then the next was the governor emphasized New York needs to get property tax down through additional sharing and cost containment. And really what I think that is right there, whether it's right to say publicly or not, is what the governor has always tried to do, and has tried to really make it fiscally difficult for districts to stay independent and not have countywide school districts. So that by forcing, then you have things like Miami-Dade, and that has, 40,000 students, one superintendent, and things like that. So it's just a continuous effort to make it more difficult with those, basically all the things that he's doing.
There's that, and let's make no mistake about it. Every decision he makes, everything he puts out, is in an effort to position himself for future political run. Make no mistake about it.
Well, and a lot of it's in response to what's happened with our federal taxing, because New York State's going to become almost impossible to live here, because they're going to take away our ability to write off our state and local taxes. So that's why a lot of those previous things you saw change are changing.
Oh, there's no doubt. I have a lot of friends that own major corporations in New York, and they're getting out of New York because the taxes is killing them. Right, and it's a shame because we're trying to bring businesses here, and then I agree.
Yeah, so is there any feeling at all yet? And I know details aren't out, but by shifting the burden from the employee to the employer, we saw how that's going to impact districts. I mean, it's a right, and I guess my point is there's nothing from the governor as far as what they're doing to offset that for the districts. We'll just have to figure it out.
Exactly. So as you take a look here, the Timothy Creamer, the executive director of New York State Boards Association. These are some statements that he says. would constrain the ability of school board members to do the jobs they were elected to do. The governor's proposed $288 million increase in unrestricted foundation aid is about 1/5 of the $1.4 billion increase in foundation aid requested by NISBA, which is his organization, which we support. Approximately $200 million, almost 70% of the governor's proposed foundation aid increase will be absorbed by the teachers' retirement system, the TRS contributions. The executive budget proposal would provide just 1/5 of what school boards need, and most of that increase would be absorbed by TRS contributions, leaving not much for students. So then this comes up to the big part. So what can we do? What can our board, who's very, very vocal board, supportive board, this is Saturday, February 3rd, 2018. Pearl, are you starting to take appointments or, RSVP? So that's a huge thing right there. And again, NISBA listened to the desire expressed by many of you to return to a program where the school board members and superintendents could have a personal interaction with their state legislators during the New York State budget process. Who should attend? Again, it's a small group setting. It's especially designed for school board members and superintendents and selected district leadership members. This is big. It's really important that we continue the message. And that's what they're currently using as their hashtag. New York Schools in Peril. Any questions? Is that 6 minutes?
On slide number 3, just refrain from putting the governor's photo in future presentations.
Duly noted.
Yeah. It's unanimous.
It's visual.
Put yourself, I'm okay with that.
But he's okay with me. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. All right, being that there are no blue cards this evening, I will dispense with reading the community open forum portion. So with that, can I get a motion to accept and approve the meeting minutes for January 8th?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. McCarthy, second. Mr. Bedworth, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, with that, move on to unfinished business. Mr. Goldberg, I don't know if there are any of these that you specifically want to address tonight.
I got a phone call, Mr. Schaefer, great guy from the North Shore, say it again? North Sportsman Club. And he called me and he said that he looked into it and he had made an honest mistake that that trap shooting was not recognized as an official sport, interscholastic sport or sport in any of those schools. It was a club or activity. And so that is what we are still happy to do. We would do the same process and anything else. That I'm just waiting to hear back from him. I want to have another conversation with him. That if that's what he is interested to do, he said he was going to get back to me when he talked to the president of the organization. Now that they know that none of them were actually recognized as a sport, we still think of it as an excellent opportunity. And if it's something that our students want to do, we say we're all for it. So, but I just want to say he did call me, great guy, and I just wanted to let that part. Clarify that. We're good.
All right, so everything that's currently listed there stays on for next meeting?
Yeah, because we're working on all of them. Like, for instance, the policy committee field trips after the 3rd week in May. I've been talking with Lynn Dollar, CSTA union president, a little correspondence with Rich Creamer as well, it's vice president. And it is actually written in the contract that says, has those dates. But again, we don't want to limit some teachers that are doing that. So we're just going to try to find out like even ground on what we can do, not her program. But in talking with Lynn and just brainstorming before the meeting, we think that was because the old exam schedule, Regis exam schedule, and when those used to be that aren't there anymore. And I just think that because the contract says that, but we could do something with an MOA mutually benefits our students.
Okay.
But, I'm sorry, Andy, I was just going to ask, but mostly, like with field trips, the high school doesn't usually do trips other than they do their senior trip. That to
But they
me
could,
would
like
be
if they were gonna go somewhere, there is a date for secondary, and then there's a date
a
for
date
elementary.
okay,
Yeah.
right? Because I was going to say it mostly would pertain to the
Sure.
elementary kids, right?
Yeah, but we're looking at that one, and the other ones, we're still looking at them. I've got head of transportation is looking into transportation with UPK, putting dollars to what that would actually look like, and the regulations, like if there were to be a 3-year-old on a bus, that would definitely require a monitor on every bus that has that, and then there would be car seats, and then nobody can sit at all behind those students where the car seat is. So we're looking at all of that. We just don't want to rush it and get you guys, we want to get you the actual accurate information. So all of that is still all being worked on.
All right, so Pearl, all 5 stand for permission. All right, with that, we'll open it up for board member open forum. And I'll start with a couple things I'm going to start passing around for everyone. We've got a thank you from the family of Janice Clark just for some messages of condolence that we sent. That was a city board member that passed away at the beginning of the month. And I'll pass around this incredibly well-written, very nice letter from Elena Mascaro addressed to myself and the board, thanking us for our support and allowing her to participate in the Winter All-State concert. So really nice letter. It's nice to give that acknowledgement. So, with that, I will also remind everyone that Monday is the Oswego County School Board Association. They set up a tour of Kudamaki, the plant. So if you've RSVP'd to Pearl, just as your reminder, I'm sure she'll send out something too. And Pearl, I don't remember off the top of my head when the cutoff is for that. Is it already passed? Okay. So if you've RSVP'd, that is Monday. The City Legislative Forum, which Mr. Postle mentioned in his presentation, I believe you have until this Friday to register for or reserve that. And again, that's 9 to 11 at the City BOCES campus. And the final thing, just food for thought for everyone to consider. It'll come before us. It's a really small item, but the Oswego County School Board Association for years now has not collected dues because, frankly, they had a bank that had built up and they didn't feel it was right. That bank is being drawn down because they're actually doing things like the Maki plant and some other trainings. So they're looking at reinstituting something. They're thinking probably in the neighborhood of between $100 and $200 roughly for each of the member districts in the county. So just if you have any feedback on that, feel free to let me know and I'll bring it to them. But they're looking forward to this. Anything else?
I'd like to open up the discussion again since we're budget time about all the activities and making sure that we're even, as we discussed last year. I think we need to, as we're going through the budgeting, just double check on some of that because I think we're missing a few activities that occur for students that weren't accounted for previously.
So to make sure I'm getting what you're saying, last year we had a conversation around whether it was sports, clubs, music programs, just reviewing the list about what the district contributes versus what they raise, how it's done, all that, just to make a level playing field.
Yeah, to give all the activities equal standing within the district.
So I'm going to suggest you tell me, but I would think if Mr. Postle can get together an updated, because we had the information from last year, so if we get updated, just let us know what time frame, and then if we can get that email out to everyone, we can have time to absorb it before we talk about it.
The only thing I'm asking is that we do our best to try to make sure we hit at all the activities. You know, I mean, we're adding some with possibly
Are
traffic.
there activities that are lacking or missing? What are you specifically talking
I've run
about?
into a couple that didn't. We got partway through it, but never quite finished.
Can you give us a hint?
They're inactive right now. We did field band. We didn't quite make it to the guard programs, and we didn't make it through all the. You know, because we settled the field band issue, and we didn't make it all the way through. So I was looking back at my notes, and we have not quite made it through. And talking to Andy, I don't think he had us making it all the way through either.
why don't we start with, we'll pull that back out, and that we'll send it to the board again, so
Just
the
to
board
make
members
sure,
can
yeah,
see.
yeah.
And that any kind of questions that get generated out of there that you want me to specifically look at, we'll go from there, so we're all looking at the same stuff.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's just budgeting time. I figure it's worth another look. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
All right, so then, no time frame in that we don't want to put an undue burden on you, but whenever the updated info, if you just send it to the board, and then if we have questions, obviously, like always, we can go to the superintendent with them, and if it needs to be a discussion at a future board meeting, we can take it at that point.
Yep.
All right, any other open session items? All right. Moving into our action items, can I get a motion to approve the second reading of proposals 5633 and 5660? That would be pest management and pesticide use in school food service program.
Make the motion.
McCarthy, second. Wood, any discussion on those two policies? So this is the second and final reading, so once we vote, as soon as they pass, then they will replace the existing policies sometime soon. Right? Okay. So they'll be all done at one fell swoop then. Okay. All right. No discussion? No, your vote? No discussion? All those in favor? It is approved.
Make the motion to accept G in its entirety.
G in its entirety. Mr. McCarthy, and second by Mrs. Nickerson. Any discussion on G? Sorry, give me one moment. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of accepting G is unanimous. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Colabufo for an introduction. Let the record reflect Mr. Colabufo was not correct in that it was
And I'm not
covered
going to
in
throw
this
Pearl under the bus, so I'm going to take responsibility for that one.
So we'll do an introduction in a moment. Can I get a motion to accept H?
Make the motion to accept H in its entirety.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Second. Ms. Wood, any discussion on H? Being none, all those in favor? And at long last.
I'm sorry. I would like, at this time, I would like Mr. Jim Granzak to be able to stand up and introduce our new high school varsity football coach, Kevin Galfas. For both of you, go ahead.
It's what you get, so.
Is it true? Is it true you're a Bill Belichick disciple?
Oh, no! No, you can't say that.
All right. Well, you got half right. Oh wow. Okay.
You just added a half-hour conversation Mr. McCarthy's going to have with me
No.
afterwards now.
No, Mr. Dranzik, based on that comment, I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
You are coming extremely highly regarded. Seriously, from those folks over there.
And anybody knows football, Section 3 knows Bob Campese, and he raves about you. So that's a great job. Everybody that was involved in that committee, I know you were the unanimous decision. Great job. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, and I'm just calling a pause for 10 seconds. superintendent before we do our. I was in error. I skipped over the superintendent's report, and I know that's why all of you came. So, with that, Mr. Goldberg will give the superintendent's report.
Okay, superintendent report.
No wonder it was going so damn quick.
What did he say about Bill Belichick? No, okay, here we go. All right. Chromebooks have been deployed at AA Cole Elementary and Millard Hawk Elementary schools. Students and teachers were excited and already using them. I love when I walk around in the buildings and I get emails from students and their parents just saying how excited they are. With that being said, I did send an email out to literally the entire staff because I want everybody to know when you deploy something like a one-to-one initiative, there's going to be that great excitement, but then there's going to be fear and worry and that consternation that, oh my God, I should be using these right now. What are they going to? No, I wanted all teachers relax. That's not the expectation. Originally, this was going to be a deployment that was going to be like every other classroom, and then the next year was going to be, or every other grade level. But then there were a lot of teachers that said, no way, we want them all now, because so many of us already have experiences, and the ones that don't, we want to be able to play with them. And one of them even used the analogy, you can't teach someone how to ride a bike from a textbook. You actually have to have the bike there. But we have a really realistic approach in how we're going to do this. I've talked to some teachers, and they were at these two schools, and they were thrilled at how Arena and her team has set that up. That is why I recruited Arena to be able to come in and do something on a grand scale such as this. So we don't expect that, and when teachers, I know they're not watching this live, but when it gets put up there, I want them to just take a deep breath and relax. And this is going to be a long-term process, and we're going to provide you with all of that support. We're not putting up smart boards and then giving you like one little lesson on how to do it and then leaving it to you. This is going to be a sustained one-to-one initiative, and we're really excited about that. So again, I thank Arena and all the work that she's putting in with her team, and I thank the principals and I thank the teachers, and Lynn Dowler being here, I want to give her a shout out. Her first year as being union president, she doesn't know I'm saying this, but she's been very, very supportive. I really enjoy our every other weekly meetings that we have. She has her own seat, and I will never sit in it because that's her seat. It's awesome. So yes, next, CSMS good news. Mr. Gordon hosted Adirondack Guides to present his achieved time students as part of his enrichment on Adirondack Parks. The PTA hosted the Winter Blue Bash last Friday to raise money for the 8th grade trip. The middle school won the most improved trophy for the district canned food drive. There will be the first mental health task force meeting on February 5th at 4:15 p.m. The first few meetings will be working with staff members in our district, then eventually community members and local agencies will be asked to join. Congratulations to the performing members of the Central Square Varsity Winter Guard in the first competition of 2018. They placed first at Phoenix. The Robo Eagles VEX Robotics Competition Team won the Excellence Award and Tournament Champion in a field of 32 teams at the Baldwinsville VEX Tournament on Saturday, January 20. The winning team consists of 6 students. Forrest Kerr, 11th grade, Sawyer Mitchell, 11th grade, Matt Stewart, 11th grade, Noah Tolson, 9th grade, Ethan Wells, 9th grade, and Spencer Wells, 11th grade. Here is an excerpt from the judging rubric about the Excellence Award. The Excellence Award is the highest award presented at a VEX robotics competition. This award is presented to a team that exemplifies overall excellence in creating a high-quality VEX robotics program. This team is a strong contender in numerous award categories. Key criteria include Design Award ranking, Tournament qualification matches ranking, Robot Skills Challenge ranking, other judge award rankings, high-quality VEX robotic program. This team excels in many areas that is a shining example of dedication, devotion, hard work, and teamwork. And I really want to give a shout out to Ethan Wells who wrote all this. So, as a student, that's pretty amazing. And self-advocacy, that was one of the attributes that came out of the College and Career Readiness Committee when we were talking about the attributes of a Central Square graduate. This boy really embodies that. He was one of the two Ethans that was on the news when we were talking about the whole rollout with the 21st, with the Chromebooks. So really big shout out to Ethan Wells and his parents, and all of these kids. You've raised fantastic kids. Paul B. Moore High School received a thank you from Senator Patty Ritchie for donating and participating in the Christmas cards for our troops program. They collected more than 10,000 holiday greeting cards from families, schools, businesses, and other groups from throughout Central and Northern New York. I attended the benefit. I got to tell you, this to me as superintendent, in my whole 3 years of being part of Central Square, this was probably the most special, powerful thing that I ever attended. And so I attended the benefit for Mr. James Besaw that was held Friday night during the JV girls basketball game and the girls varsity basketball game. The girls wore the Ballin' for Besaw green shirts. Even the opposing coaches wore the t-shirts. Every year, Mr. Zimmer speaks about losing his daughter, again, an alum of Central Square, to cancer, and there was not a dry eye in the house as he shared his brief story of his daughter and her fight leading up to her passing. Then Maddie Besaw spoke and gave a heartfelt message to the audience for her father that again left everyone without a dry eye. That night was a perfect example of how strong and supportive the Central Square community is, to the Ransom family, what they've done, to the coaches, to Mr. Dranzak, to literally everybody that was there, whether they were able to contribute or not. It was a really special event, and it makes me really proud to be a superintendent when people all can rally together for special causes like that. That is the end of my superintendent report.
All kidding aside, I apologize for skipping your report. We really do appreciate the info that you share with us. So all the jokes aside, it is good to hear that. I am going to make a motion that the Central Square School District Board of Education hereby move into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person. And I'm going to clarify this one with permission already from Mr. Colabufo. In the board's adopted timeline of the superintendent review, we do a mid-year feedback. So tonight's executive session is the board simply preparing for that feedback. Mr. Colabufo won't be in that part, but it gives us a chance to prepare to provide that feedback. Second reason for executive session is for purpose of discussions around seeking legal advice, possible legal advice from the board's attorney. Can I get a second? Mr. McCarthy, any discussion? All those in favor? It is passed and there will be no action to follow, so have a good night, all the staff.